Okay, I'll first of all say it was great to have him back on the gate. It's not very often that I'd agree with Mathis, and I do wholeheartedly agree. He's paid millions of dollars. He's KTM's current star to go up and compete to win championships against Jet Lawrence, Eli Tomac, Ken Roxon, all the other guys that are paid to showcase their brand. So he should be out there competing. So there's obviously something going on in the background, very similar to the Prado thing, where we're not really getting a lot of information. He was extremely vague. I listened to that thing he did with Lewis, and that was very, very vague. And so that brings me to the point of, he's changing brand. Yes, he's still got a number of races still to go this season with KTM, but really we hold him to such high account because we know what he's capable of achieving. And I've said this to you guys in previous calls that we've had. The guy needs a mentor. That's the one thing that is majorly missing in his inner circle, because he's doing the same things over and over now, especially when he's competing at that level or that speed, and he makes those small errors or judgments, whatever they may be. And for him he has all of the capabilities to compete with Jet Lawrence, I feel, but there's a real breakdown with some of the either decisions or clarity or whatever it may be that leads to those errors. So for me, I think that's one thing that he should be really investing in for the future if he wants to have a real run at being and competing with Jet and up front to win championships.
Yeah, well, so that's really interesting. If you want to weigh in on that, JT, just if you got any insights, he didn't seem overly keen on Motocross the Nation, Sexton, that he'd be doing that. Who knows what happens on that one? But is there a concern for USA with AP's health? Obviously, Tomac's having a bit of a drop off. Jay Coop would be an excellent option too. Deegs will only go if he thinks they can win, you'd imagine. So, any movement on that? And just you want to follow up to BT's comments too?
Yeah, no, me trying to figure out Chase Sexton is not going to go well for anybody. I just have kind of given up. I've tried. Sometimes I think I'm on the right track as far as understanding him, and then other times I clearly have no idea what's going on in his head. The one thing I do know is that when push comes to shove in the toughest moments, especially really up against Jed is the easiest one, he still doubts himself. I firmly believe that he still doubts himself. As good as he is, the talent he has, I think he looks for reasons for it not to work. The bike's not good enough, whatever the situation may be. He's constantly, it's funny. I didn't mean to go down this pathway, but if you've ever talked to Dazzy Lawrence about this, he will tell you that it was fate that Hunter's name is Hunter and Jet's name is Jet because of their personalities, the way they attack racing, the way they live their life. Hunter is super analytical. He approaches everything methodically, just like a hunter would, like setting out to accomplish his goal with it's all laid out. Like he knows exactly how he's going to go about it. Where Jet's just flying by the seat of his pants, not a lot of thinking involved. He can just do the thing, right? Like he's incredibly methodical in his racecraft on the track, but outside of that, in his day-to-day life, it's not a well-orchestrated plan. Where I'm going with that is if you look at Chase, I think it's perfect too, because he's always chasing something, a different team, a better bike setting, a better bike, a different color bike. I don't know what he's looking for, but I can tell you if you're constantly searching for it, there's a really good chance you're not going to find it, because racing oftentimes is about compromise. Your bike's never going to be perfect. It's never going to do everything you want it to do. That doesn't exist. So if you're never, ever, ever some sort of content with where you are, better is going to always be the enemy of good. Like sometimes you just have to say, hey man, this bike's pretty freaking good. AP's been ripping on this thing. I've got to go do the thing. Like it, or do you want a Honda? Because that's the bike you didn't want to be on anymore. You didn't want to be at Honda, And that's what it's just this recurring theme that I think at some point in his life, he's going to have to work through. And listen, I should not be giving him career advice, but analyzing the situation for him to be his best, I feel like most of the time he's too worried about what he doesn't have or what could be better versus being his very best on what he does have.
Maybe there's not much to add to that. The only thing I'll add is he needs a mentor, and I've said it time and time again. So you're bang on the money with that. I guess summary. I was I was wondering where you were going to get to with his name, but where you got to and the analogy of that, I think fits perfectly for right now. So I mean, if he was to listen to this, to me that would it made a lot of sense to me, in the way that you summarized all of that, and so he has to make a change. There is without doubt there has to be change. Otherwise, you do the same thing, you'll always get the same result.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. And obviously that sort of bleeds into how is he feeling on the line with his confidence and where does he gain his confidence from? If you're looking at, the other blokes, you want to look internally as well. So that must be you guys as, elite level racers. Did you extract your confidence from doing the work in training, race results, how you're feeling on the day? There's a lot of things that can go into it, and it'd be fascinating to learn what's going on in Chase's mind, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for me it was a little different than BT, right? Like I didn't have a factory bike and I wasn't paid to win races or anything. So I always knew that I was kind of in my own world as like I needed to be the very best that I could be. The bike was going to be what it was going to be. I didn't have a million and one options to change it anyway. So it was almost a blessing at times because I was basically looking at the bike going, okay, this is what the bike is. I've done the best job I can to manipulate it with what I have to work with to make it suit me the best way. Now, the rest is on me. I have to, and if I have to overcome the situation, so be it. But that was the way it always was. So I didn't get lost in settings and I wasn't constantly coming in every time. And, you hear these guys all the time on the podium, or I do because I'm talking to them, and they say, yeah, we went completely the wrong direction in between motos. And I'm like, what direction are you going, man? It was like 30-minute break. Like, oh, you basically jumped in a pool, jumped out of the pool, and then went back to the line. Like, how do you go completely the opposite direction? Or why did you even take a chance on going completely the opposite direction? And I understand they have a lot of different things they can do. I just didn't have any of that. So it was always more. Maybe that's why I'm hypercritical of Chase in this aspect, because I always felt like it came down to me. Like if I was going to do it, that was going to be it. The bike wasn't going to do it. The team was only going to be there to help me once I came in. If I didn't execute on the racetrack, there was no one else to point a finger at other than myself. And I wish Chase at some time would just be like, I just need to go out and beat Jet Lawrence. Like that's it. Well, I've changed bikes. I've ridden everything there is out there. I've tried every setting there is known to man. If I'm going to beat the guy, I just have to go beat the guy. And I think he knows that deep down, but his actions don't always reflect that. I just feel like he could use, and I want to say accountability, and I don't mean it because that sounds so negative towards him. I don't mean it negative towards him, but if you were tasked with, like BT, right? You coach riders, you've been around the best of the best. If you were tasked with, hey, I don't care what you have to do, come hell or high water, we need Chase Sexton to beat Jet Lawrence. Like, I don't think you would want that job. I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to have anybody beat Jet Lawrence. But I think somewhere in there, you would say, enough, Chase, enough with all this other nonsense. We need to focus on what really matters. Skill sets, starts, negating some of the things he really does well, putting pressure on him, like really, really rattling him, getting him out of his comfort zone, not changing shocks every 12 minutes. Like that's not it. There's no magical shock setting that's going to unlock 2 seconds a lap. Like that's not going to happen. You would have already found it by now. So I don't know. I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but it drives me bonkers that this guy that is so talented and so capable continues to go in circles doing the same damn thing over and over.
So the word accountability that's not negative in this breakdown right here, because that's where he needs someone at his side to be exactly what JT is speaking to in terms of accountability. You do not need to change your shock again, or your forks, or this or that, or whatever it is you're searching for. That's not where the win is going to come from. It's going to come from within you as a racer, and the way that you approach your racing mentally. Because physically, the dude is a beast. He's the fittest, gnarliest dude out there outside Eli Tomac. So it comes down to the top 2 inches for him and the way that he approaches the racing, and that's why it comes back to that accountability. And I put that on the onus of a mentor and someone there that can help steer him and give him that guidance of how he approaches his racing. Really, that's what it's going to come down to. So I don't think it's, for me personally, I love the fact that we've gone off on this tangent. I'm breaking that down because we if that doesn't change, we're going to continually see that over time. And it's interesting to break it down, in my opinion.
I love that BT said it's got to come from within him, because I firmly believe that winning at that level to go beat Jet is going to take everything he has. And if, like we see what happens if it's not everything he has, he's not close to him. But I do think there is a world where he has everything dialed in, and beat him or not, he's going to be in the fight. Like, he can be in the fight with Jet Lawrence, and he is one of very few that can say that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in again because you made some points there earlier of how you would achieve that with him. And I've thought about that, like there is one way is just to absolutely put the pressure on him, like to an insane level during the week to actually to try and replicate that to a sense, and really make him resilient to thinking clearly and making good decisions, in those moments, and I really think it's going to take that to make a change for him, like to your point in terms of, all out raw speed. It was clear on the weekend that he had what it took to run jet speed, and I think personally, we thought that, well, I thought that Southwick was a representation of him close to his ceiling. Well, we saw an even higher ceiling on the weekend when he got off the floor in 18th and flew through the pack, But then Chase jumped on the coattails of that, and at times was chewing it, little, split seconds here and there, chewing into Jet. So it's clear that he has, that the speed and ability to run at that speed, at that level, but. Well, those small errors that he's making, you can't make a championship run with those errors.